key. If you are a participant, please press pound to continue. You have not entered any numbers. Please re-enter your host key followed by pound. Welcome to Zoom. Enter your participant ID followed by pound. You are in the meeting now. You are the first participant. Please stand by. This meeting is being recorded.
Good morning, everyone. We'll call this meeting to order for Tuesday, January 23rd, 2026, meeting of the Amador County Board of Supervisors. The board met in closed session at 8:30 and claim 2611 was denied. Claim 2612 was denied. Claim 2613 was denied. And the confidential minutes were approved as presented. Would you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. First up are public matters not on the agenda. Discussion items only, no action be taken. Any person may address the board on any subject within our jurisdiction. However, any matter that requires action may be referred to staff and a committee for report and possible action in a subsequent board meeting. Please note there's a 3-minute limit per person and there's a sign-in sheet at the dais when you come forward because we are recording the meeting. Any public comment? Welcome. Good morning.
I'm Carly Amethysto-Smith. I work with the Master Food Preservers and the Master Gardeners. I'm here to talk about a project that we're doing together with Kitty, and go ahead, Kitty.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Kitty Opliger, and we're from the University of California Cooperative Extension. We just wanted to start by thanking the board for your ongoing support of our programming in Amador County. I'm here today with Carly, who works with the Master Gardener and Master Food Preserver program, and I represent our Community Nutrition and Health program. And we're sharing about this project that we will be doing with the Amador Public Library. And we're calling this project the Kitchen Library. It aims to provide cooking and food preserving equipment to the public for free through the Jackson Public Library on a lending basis. We hope that this project will help Amador County residents to cook more healthy meals, specifically aimed at using ingredients from Amador County farmers. And so we hope that this will support both the home families as well as the farming economy of Amador County. And the plan is to launch this program in September. So we are just collecting supplies, and I am just here to get everyone excited about the project and to make sure and that we will be sure to invite the board and announce any our upcoming kickoff event in September when we launch the party. So, thank you.
Last thing, I have flyers that I'll put in the back for anyone that wants to learn about our classes that are coming up.
You know, you might be better off to put it on the table out in the hallway. There's more traffic than comes into this room. And you'll see a bunch of flyers when you go right out the door heading out.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else?
I got some information to pass out.
Okay. I shall take care of that for you. Thank you.
Good morning, supervisors.
Good morning.
My name's Chris Strong from Ione, California. I'm with New California State Movement, and you're probably aware we submitted these notices to the board, to the registrar, and to the sheriff yesterday. And you're probably also aware of our public records request that we have for all of the election documents, digital as well as physical, for the last 2 elections. But this letter is from our governor pro tempore. Your supervisors, registrar, and sheriff, the purpose of this notice is to ask for an opportunity to address the entire board or to present a claim contesting the certification of any election results at the next regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Supervisors. Also requesting the board direct the registrar of voters to respond to the request for information below. I invite your attention to California Election Code Section 16100D, which states in part, any elector of a county, city, or of any political subdivision of either may contest any election held therein for any of the following causes, and D is that illegal votes were cast. The factual basis of this request is that it is common knowledge there has been a flood of illegal aliens into the state of California, its counties, cities, and school districts, and these non-citizens have apparently been allowed to register with the Department of Motor Vehicles. With that registration, these non-citizens have been provided with voter registration and election ballots. It is also common knowledge that investigative reporters have discovered that some illegal alien non-citizens have in fact voted. Providing these non-citizens voter registration and election ballots gives you, the members of the Board of Supervisors and the Registrar of Voters, the legal basis to set aside the election and deny its certification due to the number of illegal voters as set forth in California Election Code 16100 that I mentioned before. These incontrovertible facts give the sheriff not only the right but the obligation to investigate voter fraud. If the board and registrar certify the election, they will be committing a felony. To the board and the registrar, would you please provide me, this is from Paul Preston, and the person who served this letter yesterday, the process and identify all officers, employees, and volunteers engaged in the collection and counting of ballots, including the disqualification of ballots and voter verification. As a voter in this state, as is the server of this letter signed below, which was turned in yesterday, we object to our votes being diluted by the votes of those not legally eligible to vote. We also object to any compounding of a felony by certifying these election results. Thank you for your promptly responding to this letter and giving me an audience with you to constitutionally redress this grievance pursuant to the Bill of Rights, Article 1. And basically, where we realize that the county, you guys are, trying to keep things on the up and up. And it appears to us that the state is bringing down these laws that, for example, why not have an opt-in for illegal immigrants when they get a driver's license to state whether they're citizens or not. Right now, it's putting you in a position where even when we request these documents that these public records requests, we're getting blocked by all these new laws. I mean, it's becoming a complete tyranny. So, but I think the certification date is next week. I'm not exactly sure on the date, but it's coming up soon. But this puts you and puts us all in a very bad light with what the state's doing. So we'd like you to look into this, please.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Any Zoomers?
No, not at this time.
Supervisor Cornell, you asked for a minute.
I have one public comment. I was awakened this morning by a very concerned resident of District 4. She was looking on social media, and apparently social media was reporting that there was a fire in an apartment complex in Sutter Hill, which there in fact was, and that 200 senior residents with limited income were unhoused and indefinitely. So I drove down there, and it's one resident that's unhoused, and everybody else was still in their apartments. And so I just wanted to straighten out the record. It's going to be okay. Oh, thanks.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Moving right along, we're looking for approval of today's agenda.
So moved.
With addendum.
That'll come under items on the consent. All right, the next one down. Or you want to do it right now? Yeah, okay. I see what you're saying, yeah. We had an addendum which would be 7T on the consent. Is that okay with Supervisor Brown?
Yes.
Second?
Second.
All right. Second by Supervisor Neto to approve the amended agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Now approval of the amended consent.
Did we ever figure out the clean air thing? Was that on the consent or what was that? I don't know. I was trying to figure that out.
I don't believe it's on this.
Okay. I was talking to Brian about it. I wasn't sure if we, okay. I'm fine then. I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second. Got a motion by Supervisor Epperson and a second by Supervisor Brown to approve the consent agenda as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Regular agenda time, 5A. Presentation of the report by the 2025-2026 Amador County Grand Jury. Presentation only. And good morning, sir.
Good morning. Kenneth Guffey. I'm the pro temp for the 25-26 Civil Grand Jury here in Amador County. At least for
I can barely hear you.
Yeah.
At least for the next 7 days, I'll be the pro temp, and I'm done after a year of long work. Okay, so they're doing a wonderful job. Already gave you your copies of our consolidated report for this year. So, give you a little idea of what we did. Got notes here. The first things, I ever run for Board of Supervisor, I have the first requirement done. We all have classes. That was the first requirement. Not that I'm never going to do that. Okay. So we had tons and tons of complaints throughout the county through the years. So we picked, again, 7 things that we investigated over the year. Spent thousands of hours. This job is not a simple job. You know, the judge tells you when you get sworn in, 3 to 4 hours a week, you'll be done. I wouldn't call the judge, a fibber, but it was a lot more work than that. It was a lot of stuff. So we ended up doing 7 reports in here. The first one was on the city of Ione. City of Ione, this is going to be I have it in here somewhere. Like the 6th or 7th report in the last 12, 15 years from the city of Ione, all pretty much covering the same thing.
I've experienced some of that. Thank you.
So during this, the investigation was for multiple complaints and long-standing concerns. It's the 6th since 2010. There was the main thing was the chronic failure to complete required annual financial audits, about 1,300 days overdue. Inability to borrow money due to lack of audited financial statements. Delayed improper annual budget adoptions, frequent violations of purchasing and bidding policies, including contracts executed without council approval or competitive bidding, materials, internal control weaknesses, unreliable financial documentation, high staff turnover, and unstable leadership. You've had 12 city managers since, or not you personally, but the city has had 12 city managers since 2010. That's very unstable. Rise in legal costs and little oversight. Legal spending's doubled in the last few years. And other issues of such violations as the Brown Act, failures of in meeting agendas, preparations, lack of public transparency, and severe breakdown in council civility, decorum, and consistent policy adherence. I'm not a citizen of Ione, but I've heard a lot through this investigation about it, and there's some things that need to be done. The impact of this is the failure to pose significant risk in physical waste, legal liability, loss of public trust, and impaired service delivery. Okay, and the recommendation that we made after this very extensive, long investigation was that it needs to establish a predictable, policy-compliant annual budget cycle. You know, something that they need to really work on is just getting the information done. Okay. React to the Finance Committee to strengthen the physical oversight. Complete all outstanding financial audits and correct internal control deficiencies. Implement HR reforms, staffing increases, centralize personal records, enforce personal purchasing and bidding policy compliance, institute strict legal expenses oversight, and consider restructuring the city attorney services. Okay. And there's quite a bunch in there. It's going to be the longest report in the consolidated report. It started out about 300-400 pages. We dwindled it down to about 100 for just this report. Okay, and then, so that was the first one. Second one was on the City of Plymouth. City of Plymouth, our main complaint there was a no audits or budget audits since 2021. Okay, so speaking with the city and the people there, they have really stepped up to correct it. They replaced most of their city council, has been replaced since this complaint came out. They have a new city manager. They've restructured, they've hired a finance system, and they're actually doing what they need to be doing as of right now. Okay. But our recommendation was basically to establish a audit status tracker, where they're actually saying, this is our audit from 2021-22 is what they're working on right now, and to actually tell them at their meetings where, and the people know where they're having the audits at. Another one, let's see. We also investigated the social service department for complaints alleging unfair hiring, hostile work environment, and policy inaccessibility. Our determinations was there was no evidence of unfair hiring practices or promotion bias. The prior hostile work issues that were brought up had been corrected by management in a proper way. Okay. Policy access concerns were temporary, occurring during a transition from computer systems. They basically, all their policies were on one system, they transferred to another one. No one can find it for a short period of time. That's been corrected. So their policies and procedures are now adequate and properly followed. So no recommendations there. They seem to be getting stuff going. The fourth report in here is on the Amador Transit procurement compliance issues. The allegations regarding improper contracting for bus wrapping advertising services. All our city buses have wrapping on it that advertise it. That's contracts over about $100,000 annually. Okay, and it's not bidded properly. No documentation of sole source justification. It's one person got a contract years ago. It's never been re-bidded. Expired contracts were used in place of properly procured agreements. Other vendors were excluded from the opportunity to bid, and violations could have legal, financial, and operational risk. Our recommendations there were strict adherence to procurement policies, particularly the contracts over $25,000. Provide procurement training for staff leadership, and implement a complement RFP of sole source process for advertising services. Okay. Let's see. So basically, bid out your contracts. Okay, the election of observation. We observed the special election we had in June of last year, and then again the November election. That's where it was. I'm getting old and forgetful sometimes. So in November, we sat down and we went through for about a week with the election department. We watched how they went through their new machinery they've gotten, the way they did the ballots, the way they verified signatures. We sat in during the election itself, and then during the counting process, we had people sit in with that during the counting process. And we were very pleased. The staff were well trained. The ADA access and balloting handling protocols were properly followed. And so there's no recommendation. I think y'all did a wonderful job during that election, you know, from what we said in here. The only issue that came up about that was, I think you only had one voting place here at this building where you usually have them at 3 different places. And that's because of the way the law is written of how many people in the county, how many voting. But a little bit more access would be nice, but it worked really well. We were very happy with that. Now, the only thing the civil grand jury is required to do by law is inquiry into your jails. Any facility that holds inmates longer than, I think it's 48 hours, we have to inquire into the running of them. So there's 3 facilities here in the county that we looked at. It was Mole Creek State Prison, the Amador County Jail, and the Pine Grove Conservative Camp, or Conservation Camp. So we actually had a group of us who went to each one of those facilities on different dates, walked through. The actual Mule Creek we did twice, walked through, and we found no significant concerns that required an investigation at this time. And being from law enforcement and working in a jail that held 4,600 inmates when I was in law enforcement, that's a lot of work to walk around and do it. And there's always complaints, you know, that you get, but your jails are running pretty good. We did not get to see the new jail. It was still in process and building when we were there. And then we did a response compliance monitoring where we look at the compliance of all the responses from the previous civil grand jury. Okay, and we found that the Board of Supervisors' response to the 24-25 grand jury report was submitted late. Also rejected 12 recommendations as unwarranted or unreasonable. And your emphasis placed on the statutory compliance with Penal Code 933.5. But basically, as in most of the things, you read the report and you decided that you weren't going to do anything about it in the 12 recommendations. Okay, let's see. Reflection upon getting through the rest of this. This is pretty much it. So we really want thoughtful consideration on this report, especially some of the ones that have been going on for over a decade. The same report has been over and over and over. And you said you did definitely have experience with it. Friday, we issued each entity in the report their own copy of theirs. So they've had it since Friday to start the idea. And then they all have, I think, 90 days to respond and hopefully get it back to us. Now, any questions? Huh? Okay.
Any public comment?
Well, thank you for your service on this. We truly appreciate it.
It was a wonderful experience.
And I commend you guys. I heard crickets nothing until they came out on Friday, and then even then, this is the first I'm hearing of it, which is amazing. So, kudos to your people. Yeah, thank you guys.
Oh yes, okay, thank you. Oh, just a little light reading.
Yes, sir.
So don't fall for the 3 or 4 hours a week.
Yeah, the 3 to 4 hours a week. Yeah, I may have to have a talk with him about that. That's the new judge. Each year, the judge
buy him a new watch.
And it's like 3 to 4 hours a week was rough. My wife says I can never do anything like this again. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Y'all right.
Thank you, sir.
For the report. All right. Do I ask about Zoomers? Do we have any Zoomers on?
We do not.
Okay. Let's go to 5B is the Amador Fire Safe Council presentation and update. Action, presentation, and update, and authorize the chairman to submit letters of support. There she is. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Amanda Watson. I work as the coordinator of the Amador Fire Safe Council. I'm here to give my annual report of what the Amador Fire Safe Council has accomplished in the past year, as well as what we are working on moving forward. I also do want to give a very thoughtful and robust thank you to Supervisor Brown. He did nominate the Amador Fire Safe Council for Nonprofit of the Year, and we were awarded that by Senator Alvarado Gil of District 4 at our last board meeting. So we're really excited, and I think that the Board of Supervisors Thank you for all of your support over the years, and that has been a tremendous factor in the Fire Safe Council's being able to be recognized with that prestigious recognition. So thank you.
Thank you.
So our mission as the Amador Fire Safe Council has not changed over the last several years. It's the same as we've had before, and that our priority is to protect the people and the community from catastrophic risk through action and innovation. We also find, our board takes it very seriously to be fiscally responsible as well as transparent with our funding. We have board meetings every month that the public are welcome to come to via Zoom or Teams, I think it's Zoom, or in person at the GSA building on Airport Road. So the Amador Fire Safe Council is a nonprofit. We are entirely grant funded, so we apply for grants, both federal and state, local grants, and all of that funding comes into the county through the work of our staff, myself, and our board in writing those grants and working with partners to make those competitive. We have a 7-member board. We also have actually now 7-member staff that we share between the Amador Resource Conservation District and the Amador Fire Safe Council. This partnership is really beneficial to both organizations, as both organizations are completely grant funded, and with that, the flexibility of being able to utilize both funding sources and both organizations is critical for keeping full-time staff. I also want to mention in the year 2025, we received funding to the tune of $1.2 million that was coming from federal and state sources to implement fuels reduction and coordination work here in Amador County. You can see our 2025 funding by project type. A vast majority of that is the Community Fuel Break Program. We also have funding through Forest Health. And those 2 programs are fairly similar. We can get into those, but basically reducing the risk of catastrophic fire, and there's slightly different prescriptions between Forest Health and Community Fuel Breaks. And then we also have done ingress and egress funding over in 2025, as well as countywide planning, which would be like the CWPP. I do want to note that we have received additional funding from PG&E as well as CAL FIRE to increase the ingress and egress treatment in this next year. So we'll see that in the end of 2026, 2027, a ramp up in that spending. Our key focus areas are fuel break development, ingress and egress improvement, countywide planning, fire-wise communities and outreach, and capacity building and grant funding. So I'm going to quickly go through some project examples from each of these focus areas, and I will say that this is not I'd be here for a long time if I went through every single fuel break and every single project, but we did hire we have a new full-time, we had a part-time amazing outreach coordinator, but now we have a full-time outreach coordinator, and we're getting our website to include all of the information about each of our fuel breaks with photos. And so in the next couple months, you guys will see that, and we'll be able to share that information really robustly on our website. So countywide planning, a huge success in this last year through work with our partners, the Board of Supervisors, our project manager, Todd Burtwell, and SIG, our consultant. We were able to complete the countywide CWPP update, which was a tremendous lift from all partners, and it really is a robust, wonderful document. Thank you to the Board of Supervisors for approving that over the last I believe it was in April, and the cities are also working through the approval process, which means it will truly cover the county and be a document that can be utilized to unify us in our wildfire reduction efforts here in Amador County. It also can help us be more effective in receiving grant funding. There's also a link here that is the Amador County CWPP GIS data link. And I'm happy to send that out as well. It's on our Fire Safe Council website. We have started the process of developing a countywide project map. It currently does house pretty much all of the projects, I believe, that are taking place, not only from the Amador RCD and the Amador Fire Safe Council, but our other project partners. And this was a huge takeaway from the CWPP, the need for not only tracking our projects that are currently happening but are in planning stages, and also the next step is to develop where they are in their maintenance so that crews can actually go out and know that these are fuel breaks that can be utilized in the event of a catastrophic fire. So we're working towards that, but it's a really interesting map that if you're curious, the public can go and actually type in their address and see what projects are around them. We also formalized the Amador County Wildfire Collaborators Group, which we had our meeting just at the beginning of this month, our first meeting of this iteration, which will also unify the people and the groups providing services in regards to wildfire preparedness. And so we're really excited. We're going to be meeting every 2 months at this point to really figure out how we're going to implement the CWPP and make sure that that document is a living document that we utilize to provide clear direction. We also, I want to shout out our countywide or our community fuel break planning program. This project was an idea between myself and John Heisenbuttel, our treasurer at the Fire Safe Council, and the plan was to identify a community fuel break that will provide critical protection. This one was the River Pines fuel break, which we worked with the River Pines Firewise community. It was the first one of that we had in the county under this program, and the goal was to build in a very small amount of funding into that program that also allowed us to bring our forester out, work with communities to, we hear from communities that they want fuels reduction around their property. Of course, everybody wants to have protection around their communities. And so with that funding, we were able to have a forester and our staff go out and actually identify a strategic development of a fuel break around these communities. So instead of, fuel breaks scattered around, this was a strategic approach to actually make these a network of fuel breaks. And so with this funding, we were able to complete our deliverables with developing the River Pines fuel break. We also were able to implement and do CEQA on an additional small fuel break in the Butte Mountain area, as well as secure $3.2 million of additional funding for 5 other critical projects. So through planning under this grant and funding from the California Coordinator Grant, we were able to leverage that fairly small amount of funding to bring in $3.2 million additional dollars for additional projects. So it just shows that that planning funding is really a critical gap, that when we have that addressed, we can really we really have a lot of leverage to build a lot of other great fuel breaks.
I think it's a point that way. I think there you
go. Okay. Sorry. Was that you or me? Okay. Sorry. I also want to mention that we were awarded some funding through BLM, and BLM, Bureau of Land Management, actually funded our countywide CWPP. We also worked with them to develop our 2026-2027 action plan, which we identified BLM projects that were in areas that a strategic fuel break could be identified, and have then identified private lands adjacent to those BLM properties. And with that, we are developing a partnership between federal and private ground to develop strategic fuel breaks. So we're currently, some of the projects that are requesting letters of support are those projects that we're looking for funding to for the private lands. And so we have funding for federal lands, and we want to leverage that to build a strategic fuel break off of those private lands onto private ground. We're also really excited that we were really effective in treating the AMCO project, and we have funding remaining after that project. And so we're going to actually be utilizing that to do maintenance treatment on at least, we're hoping, 260 acres of BLM ground that we've already treated. Maintenance is a huge issue with our fuel breaks, and so we're really excited to be able to have the funding to survey and analyze what areas need treatment and actually do the treatment on BLM ground.
Do you have any idea of the difference in cost from the original treatment to the maintenance?
Yeah, it can vary, but we look at about, roughly very broadly, $3,000 an acre for that original entry of mastication. And then depending on what the treatment is, we could be looking as low as $300 an acre for herbicide. And so, it's orders of magnitude lower in the best case scenario. If you do have to do reentry with handwork or even mastication, it's usually, it is cheaper to come back in if you're at that right interval to treat mastication, treat the land with mastication again, because it's less dense, right, of vegetation.
If we could do it soon enough, it's 10% of the cost.
Yeah, and so one of the efforts that I'll talk a little bit about, I think it's actually the next slide, we are working through our as the Regional Fire Prevention or Planning Program.
You guys have a bunch of acronyms too?
I know, I try to remember, I even have problems with it because I use RFFCP, the Regional Fire Prevention Planning Program. So that's funding through the Sierra Nevada Conservancy, and one of the tasks there is to developing a monitoring and maintenance program. And so with that, our staff is working on, we're doing photo analysis of and site visits to document when the best interval for maintenance is on these projects. At this point, it's honestly, we don't have the funding to send staff out over and over again, so we're trying to work to build that into our future grants and come up with a database that we can actually catalog that the photos and the assessments, so that we can actually come up with a strategy of saying, okay, is it a 2-year interval? Is it a 5-year interval? At this point, it's when we have funding, which is not a great way. It's not a logical necessarily way, but it's the reality of the situation. So we're trying to then back that up with actual on-site visits and database that we can collect that information of what's the most effective interval. Luckily, I think with the BLM project, we're at a pretty good interval that I think will be really effective with that. So, and the plan at this point is some handwork, some mastication, but majority herbicide application.
With that, you're saying that because we had the presentation from UCCE about, 10 different ways of maintenance. So those are the main 3 that you're using then, because they were using everything from cattle to goats to rent-a-goat program.
Yeah, so we are those are the 3 that we're currently using. Those are the ones that are covered under the environmental compliance work that we've done with BLM. There are other good options, and actually one of the Amador Resource Conservation District projects that's in this packet is trying to scale up the use of goats and prescribed fire in a way for private landowners to utilize that. Those are not options that are available for us under the NEPA for BLM ground. But yeah, that report that Scott Oneto and Brian Allen did with University Cooperative Extension was actually it was adjacent to BLM ground, but on private ground under the Mitchell Mine project. And that tested a variety of different herbicide applications, grazing, and so that's a great resource for the public as well.
Is UCC's intention to actually perform some of this work, or do the studies on it?
They do the studies on it. They partner pretty heavily with organizations like the Resource Conservation District and the Fire Safe Council to help provide our staff with insights into how to contract for it, what's the best use, the intervals, things like that. So we work pretty closely with Susie Coker and Dan Macon, who are both University Cooperative Extension employees, to provide insight and do trainings with private property owners.
One of the properties up there in Volcano, I know they were doing control burns there, prescribed fire, whatever you call it, but that was actually more of a neighborhood project too. They had talked about how they got the neighbors together and kind of protect their own community as a group, which I think it's all the above, honestly. It's not just one thing or the other. It's everybody, all hands, keeping things taken.
Yeah, I I completely agree, and that's one of the projects. It's a scaling prescribed fire and prescribed burn. One of those is elevating. It's called the PBA, the Prescribed Burn Association. We have a prescribed burn association here in Amador County. We share it with El Dorado County, and Morgan Galliano is the coordinator. And so we're working closely with Morgan in this application that we've developed to CAL FIRE to request a part-time coordinator to focus specifically on Amador County when it comes to the Prescribed Burn Association, and figure out how do we scale that to provide private landowners the tools to be able to utilize that tool safely. What are the processes? What do they have to be looking for? And making sure that, you know, as we elevate that as a maintenance strategy, that it's being done in a way that's going to be healthy for the landscape in our community. So that's one of those letters of support. And I know I'm jumping around a ton, but I really appreciate the question.
Yes,
so.
I have another question to jump around. So Volcano Hills, is that I think recently I just saw a lot of mastication on Charleston.
Yes.
So that was funded by CAL FIRE.
Yes, yeah. That was, and that project is almost complete. It's about 240 acres, I believe. And we're—
Is that all private, or is that?
Yes, all private ground. So we received, Todd Burtwell is the project manager on that, and we received rights of entry from each of those private property owners to complete that work. Yeah. And some of it's in like trust and things like that, but all private ground. We've talked quite a bit about this, and I think the next ones are just some photos of the different projects. But in 2025, we completed the Upper Rancheria field break, the River Pines field break. We've done maintenance on the Pine Acres field break, which is a critical field break in the county to help. It was critical in the Butte fire in stopping movement of the fire into Amador County. The Jackson Gate fuel break, and we completed a small fuels reduction project on Crestview BLM ground. So here's some photos of the Volcano Hills fuel break right after treatment. Like I said, this one is almost complete. We also had an exciting project, the AMCO Forest Health Project in the Buckhorn Ridge area. We were able to treat up to 431 acres, not in the last year, but over several years. But the exciting part was we actually did a forest health thinning in the Buckhorn area, where we actually were removing large timber to allow to actually meet forest health goals of the Bureau of Land Management.
That's what Buckhorn looked like when I was a kid.
Yeah. So that's now what it looks like, and we're excited that we actually have maintenance money to actually come back in a good interval. So, yeah, we're excited. This was a huge learning curve for us, but it was a really successful project due to the support of neighbors as well as our partners.
You were going to add on to some of the other side of the park area. Is that still on track?
Yes, so it's slightly delayed. We're going to treat it this fall. We needed to do we have the NEPA, which is the national, or the federal compliance, but we needed, because we're using state funding to treat it, we needed CEQA, which is the California environmental compliance. So that SNC, Sierra Nevada Conservancy, is doing that. We've actually, I think just the last couple days, we've gotten like the last little check boxes. And so due to fire restrictions, we're likely not going to be treating those 3 parcels until fall. But we have the funding, and right now pretty much have the compliance. So we're excited to be able to do that. And yeah, with pretty much every one of our projects, we've been effective enough to be able to add acreage. So we're really excited, and that's what that came from as well.
Thank you.
So this is the Upper Jackson Gate Fuels Reduction Project in partnership with the City of Jackson. We have a lot of projects in development right now. The Mount Crossman Fuel Break has CEQA as well as is funded, and that was one of those ones where we actually heard from Sierra Nevada Conservancy that they really only wanted projects that had CEQA completed. which is really challenging because if a lot of grants don't fund the planning. But because we were able to do that under the community fuel break, we had a project ready to go. So it's one of those examples of how that community fuel break planning program helps set us up to get more money into the county.
How much does CEQA cost you roughly per project, percent-wise, did you say?
So
Pretty variable, I'm sure.
Yeah, very variable. So I wish I had the per acre. We actually just analyzed the per acre amount, and basically, I'll give you I can get you a better number. I'm sorry, I don't want to just throw it out there, but what we look for, just to give you some rough numbers, about $150 an acre for surveys for archaeologists, same for forester, and then staff time. So, you know, it's not, because we're filing notices of exemption, we do all the survey work ahead of time. So, and we do CEQA for a large buffer around the project just in case things need to move. So we look at about $1,000 an acre, I would say, is what we're roughly looking at for, or actually a little under that probably.
It's not substantial then.
It's not an insubstantial amount of money. And the reason for that is that we do a lot of the survey work ahead of time to make sure that we're covered and that we're really analyzing for that, even though we're using a notice of exemption.
So is that included in the $3,000 an acre to clear? So it's
no, because that is not.
4,000.
Yeah, the planning work. And so then we have also a couple additional projects. We have our Thompson Ridge Fuel Break, which is on BLM ground, the Buckhorn Area Fuels Reduction, which is what Supervisor Brown was mentioning. And then we also have the PG&E Substation Fuels Reduction, which is a small project, but one project that we have in our lower elevations, which we haven't traditionally done a lot of work, but through the CWPP, we're working with our partners down there to try to identify some additional projects and doing some targeted work down in our lower elevations. Because really, I mean, if you look at our map, the Fire Safe Council has been mainly focused 49 and east. So we'd like to target some areas down in the southern, or in our western area, and that was one of those first ones. And PG&E funded that. It's on non-PG&E ground, but surrounding the substation outside of Ione. Like I had mentioned, we've received funding for ingress and egress, so we'll be really kicking off that in fall. But we have been doing some ingress and egress work in Amador Pines, as well as some other communities, mostly related to the storm damage. We were approached by Supervisor Brown at our meeting, and many communities were struggling with the storm damage, and we had access to the CAL FIRE camp crews, but they have a small amount of, per day amount that needs to be covered. And so we were able to figure out how to get rights of entry and also be able to pay through our PG&E grant, pay those camp crews. So it's actually been a really great partnership. And we're hoping to utilize that into the future. It was, a little bit of red tape, as always, but it actually came together pretty well. So they're
thank you for that too.
Yeah, thank you for, and that's, thank you for bringing that up and getting that going. Really connecting those dots. That's what it really is all about. So FireWise Community Assistance, really the Fire Safe Council is a bit in the back seat on this work, and the AFPD and Kayla Dale is the coordinator for the FireWise communities at this point, which has been a tremendous partnership. The Fire Safe Council still does house the map and do the mapping updates, and what our goal is to be a resource to those community leads once they are FireWise communities, to helping them develop projects and do training about what kind of forest health and fuels reduction projects they can do. And so that's the partnership that we've been really leaning into, that aspect of the partnership. And Kayla's here at the back of the room. She's available to help with getting those communities going and providing a ton of training. So she's been doing some tremendous work, and we're really happy to partner with AFPD on that. Capacity building and grant funding. This is, I think, the wrap up of my presentation. These are our future, our upcoming projects. We are looking to do a fuel break maintenance strategy grant. We were actually approached by CAL FIRE. El Dorado RCD has been working on actually doing a pilot where they're actually doing all of the planning work, the project management work, so that when CAL FIRE crews are available, they can direct them directly to maintenance projects. And so that's what we want to do in Amador County as well. So there's making sure the environmental compliance done, we have all the up-to-date ROEs, and all we have to do is, all right, go out to this project. And so streamline, this is money that will help cut down the red tape piece of that. And so that's really a sliding scale of the more funding we get, the more areas we can treat over the next couple of years, or we can plan for. The McCollum Rim Community Fuel Break is the other project I mentioned in regards to the BLM ground. So this is a project that will cover the CEQA for the entire footprint of the project, which runs from our Tiger Creek project to down to Highway 49, and then treat a section of private ground that connects to BLM ground in the eastern portion of that fuel break. And that project is deemed a strategic fuel break because many of our fires, the Electra Fire, the Butte Fire, the Tiger Fire, start in that McCollum Canyon and move up into the county. And so this would establish a fuel break all the way up from where SBI's fuel break from Dokes Ridge goes all the way to Highway 49. So really strategic fuel break.
That's a long way.
Yeah, so this would do the CEQA for that and then would treat a small section of it, and then we'd have the CEQA ready to go for future grant opportunities. So
tie in, or do you include in that the clearing under the transmission lines?
So the transmission
lines, that as part of it?
So the transmission lines are somewhat in the footprint, but not entirely. Yeah. And then the Upper Dry Creek Community Fuel Break is another fuel break that is connected to the BLM properties as well. And I'm happy to provide maps. We could pull up that. I'm sorry, I didn't provide maps in this PowerPoint. I should have. But, you know, on the website, this map, both these projects are mapped as a plan in development fuel breaks. And then the RCD projects that are also letters of support, I'll be here next month to talk about the RCD, but because of the timeline of the grants, I included the letters of support for the RCD projects in this for approval or for consideration. And what we're hoping to do is a second round of our defensible space funding, which was within the first 3 days. We were hoping, or we had funding to treat 75 homes, and that was allocated in the first 3 days of the program. We do, because we've been effective with the use of that funding, we do think we'll be able to treat beyond that 75, but we do think that given that number in the first 3 days, that the need is there to apply for an additional round of funding to continue to provide assistance for defensible space. And this is for what we're considering our vulnerable communities, which is seniors, low income, disabled, and veterans, people that would likely have trouble completing their defensible space work without this assistance. And then the Amador County Resiliency through Prescribed Fire and Grazing Initiative is a pilot project that, as I mentioned, would help scale the ability to utilize grazing and prescribed fire as a maintenance and treatment tool towards fire resiliency. So there's 3 prongs of this, which would be building up the Prescribed Burn Association here in Amador County and scaling their work, working with Dan Macon at the University Cooperative Extension to help scale grazing and figure out what are the limitations that landowners are facing when it comes to utilizing grazing when they have in the past or haven't in the past. And then also a small section of that is actually the Amador RCD doing some prescribed fire as well as some grazing, and having us, as hopefully we'll be able to do work in the future on this, providing the Fire Safe Council and the RCD the experience in a pilot program to learn the ins and outs and how to effectively write these into our grants and to future management plans. So those are those 5 projects that we're looking to apply for, looking for letters of support on. Any questions?
How many acres do you think you've done the last 10 years or so?
Oh gosh, I wish I had that number. You know, I would say it's likely smaller than what you might think because it's pretty much all on private ground except for BLM, and it takes a tremendous amount of work to get rights of entry and work with individual property owners. We've worked with over, 600 private property owners, definitely in the last 3 years. So we know, it's a ton. I hate throwing out numbers like this. Can I get
Crystal ball.
I don't.
Not going to hold it to you.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Supervisor Brown. I really dislike putting out improper facts. So I will look and I will get back.
Well,
I will get back to you guys
find out
in
how
the
many
next couple of
acres
days.
we have maintenance.
Yes.
We're thinking about too.
Yes, I will, and I should have that on the back. I should have that right on the back of my hand, shouldn't I? And so I will have that to you guys. It will be an easy number to put together.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other supervisors?
Yeah, I have a couple comments.
Sure.
I think you're doing a lot of good work. I remember years ago, I wouldn't have quite said that about the Fire Safe Council, but some of your board members have been on there a long time.
Yeah.
And I don't think you could get harder working, more capable people for millions of dollars. I mean, they're they do very good work, and they've been there, it seems like, I'd say 15 years?
At least 10 since I started, yeah.
Can't ask her to guess on numbers.
No, I'm not,
I can say at least 10
I've got that
from my own personal experience.
Yeah, no, I mean, the work you've been doing is great, and you've been a big part of that too, so we appreciate that. And I think there's become more focus on fire mitigation. It's a higher priority. I mean, hey, our towns are burnt, our forests are burnt. I think people are starting to get the message finally. I know one thing I would like to see is CAL FIRE's back there is, I know they got some VMPs out there, but at some point in time, I don't think we can masticate everything just financially. I think some of these areas they're going to have to burn them. I mean, I know they got the Capay Valley incident going on, but I support doing that. There may be some glitches and some problems, but we have to do it, or Mother Nature's going to get us. So yeah, at some point, more fire, bigger fires, clean it up. And I know it's Calaveras County, but there's a lot of fuel down there, and I mean, if you get someone's rancher and you said, hey, I would like to burn your place and clean it up after the Caldor fire, boot fire, they'd probably do it. And you got to have places that you can stop that fire.
Yeah.
So I think the work you're doing is wonderful. Just great to see. Keep going.
Thank you, Supervisor Onetto. Yeah, and that's our hope with the RCD project for the scaling fire and prescribed fire and prescribed grazing. Really the goal is to put as many tools in the toolbox, figure out what's appropriate on the landscape so that we can utilize all the appropriate tools for that piece of ground. And one thing that we've recognized is that prescribed fire and grazing, it's, for both of those in different ways, more challenging a lot of times than using handwork or mastication. There's more complexities. You have living animals, you have fencing, you have water, you have prescribed smoke, you have a tremendous amount of risk, right, that you need to mitigate for and plan for. And so that's why we really want to do this pilot project, to really make sure that when we're utilizing those tools, we know what we're doing.
Yeah, no, I think it's something. You drive up some of these areas, hey, the work you're doing is wonderful, but I drive up some of these roads, and I'm like, you look at the fields, like, it's spooky.
It is.
So, that's all I got.
All right. Any public comment? Zoomers?
No, not at this time.
All right, Amanda. We need to authorize signatures. So we need a motion.
So move. Second.
All right, we had a motion by Supervisor Onetto, a second by Supervisor Carnell, to authorize the chairman to sign and submit the letters of support. The template documents, I'm sure, are here now, or here this morning. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you for your support and the time today to share
Okay.
what we're doing.
I appreciate it.
4C is Behavioral Health Fiscal Year 26-29 Integrated Plan. Suggested action, approve and sign a resolution accompanying the board's certification. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning. I'm Melissa Cransfield, Behavioral Health Director, and I have Melissa Asilio, and she is our Integrated Services Program Manager. Her title has changed. She was, we promoted her to a program manager because of all the work that she's been doing. And so today we're here to give a summary of our Behavioral Health Services Act Integrated Plan that will be doing a final submission, final draft submission at the end of the month on the 30th for the state final approval so we can start moving forward with the Behavioral Health Services Act July 1st. So I will turn it over to Melissa since she's done the majority of the work on this plan, and I'll let you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members
Good
of
morning.
the board. We are really excited to be here this morning seeking your resolution and certification of the plan for our BHSA integrated plan for 26 through 29, as Melissa mentioned. The Behavioral Health Services Act modernizes the Mental Health Services Act, which was passed way back in 2004, taxing millionaires 1% of their income. Every dollar over that funds what is now the Behavioral Health Services Act. And this plan represents a significant shift from what we were doing under MHSA. It expands our focus beyond our most serious mentally ill community members to supporting those with substance use disorders as well. There's also a greater emphasis on housing, early intervention, and services for community members with the highest behavioral health needs and those experiencing homelessness. So the plan, as you reviewed it, is a roadmap for how we align our services with our community's priorities, along with our broader health system partners. Throughout the community planning process, we partnered closely with public health, holding stakeholder engagement events, working with community members, providers, schools, and our managed care plans to ensure that the plan meets our local needs and best supports our program implementation under BHSA. Under BHSA, we have a number of required new evidence-based programs. So the plan, as you saw, is built around 3 core investments, the first being behavioral health services and supports with a strong emphasis on early intervention services, as well as those evidence-based practices. The second component are full-service partnerships. These services provide intensive, what we call whatever it takes services for individuals with our most complex behavioral health needs, including now those with substance use disorders. And then the third component is our housing interventions. The state recognizes that housing is health and stable housing is a critical component of long-term recovery. You'll see the plan reflects an integrated approach with the alignment specifically with public health and managed care partners to better coordinate services and improve outcomes for our Amador County residents. Within the behavioral health services and supports component, we have an emphasis, as I mentioned, on early intervention. Early intervention is designed to identify and treat behavioral health conditions at the earliest signs before they become more serious and require higher levels of care. The goal being to improve outcomes, reduce crises, prevent hospitalization, and justice system involvement by the community members that we serve, and help children, youth, and adults retain healthy connection to their community. And under BHSA, as you saw, half of our early intervention funding is dedicated to children, youth, and transitional age adults. And to support this work, here in the coming weeks, we will soon be releasing an RFP for early intervention services. This will allow us to continue to partner with qualified community members to expand evidence-based programs, improve access, and continue to build a stronger continuum of care focused on early intervention. With that, I will note that we do have a number of continuing partners that partnered with us under MHSA, who are funded under single source contracts. I know there was mention of contracting earlier and here on the agenda. And those partners include Sierra Winds Peer Wellness Center. We'll continue partnering with them. Amador College Connect, we will now offer a Behavioral Health Services Act scholarship program under BHSA, and we will also continue our work with NAMI Amador, and then have in the coming months a full menu of contractors under BHSA as we stand up programs through that early intervention RFP. In addition to continuing local services, there are several new programs that this plan introduces that are required, excuse me, in statute by BHSA, including our coordinated specialty care for first episode psychosis program, which is ran by a multidisciplinary team. This is an early intervention program for youth and adults experiencing their first episode of psychosis, with onset within the last 5 years. We also have a new high fidelity wraparound program that provides intensive family-centered services to children, help children and youth remain safely at home and avoid higher levels of care and removals from the home. And then we have our enhanced full-service partnership models that are funded in the plan, including intensive case management, high-intensity case management. We have distinct service levels there, as well as our new assertive field-based initiation program for individuals struggling with substance use disorder. This allows us to better engage community members and connect them to treatment, needed SUD treatment, including MAT services, medication-assisted treatment, and also by way of the treatment with partnership with our Aegis mobile clinic. We also, in the plan, have expanded housing interventions, including rental assistance, landlord mitigation, and participant assistance funds that complement Medi-Cal housing benefits and improve housing stability for our individuals with serious behavioral health conditions. As we move forward and we stand up all of the contracts under early intervention with our local CBOs, we plan to come back and offer community forums with our full menu of plans and programs under BHSA, probably early fall. With that, we'll be submitting the plan here June 30th, and then full speed ahead July 1st with our program implementation and all things BHSA beginning in several weeks, less than several weeks. So with that, any questions?
How are your staffing levels? I mean, there's got to be a lot of people being hired, and is there enough people to handle all the contracts?
Internally, we do have a staffing shortage, and that's true, unfortunately, for behavioral health departments across the state. And so one of the things that we are doing as we're rolling out the new requirements is very thoughtfully doing so and ensuring that we have a phased approach. And we're also working, for example, with UC Davis with the first episode psychosis program in kind of managing the rollout as we have staff on leave and those things. But we are mindful of that as the state's understanding, and we're, continuing to do the work and the best we can.
The risk of asking for numbers, do we know how many, like what that population looks like, the first episode group? Is that?
Thank you for asking that. It's a very small number of community members. As we took a look at our eligibles, there's an at-risk population as well as those who qualified distinctly under first episode. So I think in total, there is a potential of up to 30, but we are anticipating less than 10 and probably less than 5 to begin with.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
And just to add to the question about staffing, we did one of the things that we did add, and it was a position that has been approved and we're recruited for, and she's actually starting next week.
Mm-hmm.
It's a new position that was created as a result of a lot of the changes, is an integrated Services Coordinator, and it's a real focus on housing, employment, and education, because those are three components that you will see throughout all of the required programs of the Behavioral Health Services Act. So for Melissa to try to do that with the current staffing, it just wasn't, it wasn't feasible. So we thought it would be more helpful to get this so that we could really roll it out in a more efficient and appropriate way, to have a coordinator to do that. Will work directly with our case management and peer support specialists to be able to do that work, the hands-on work with the clients. We are currently looking at our budget, the BHSA budget, and how, as we work with the Centers of Excellence, and they're telling us, you should have a case manager and our peer support specialist on each team. And what we have done before is either you have a peer or you have a case manager. So because a lot of these evidence-based practices differentiate those roles very specifically and they have specific duties, we're really looking at that to see if that's something that we're going to have to add another case management position, and something that we're continuing to look at, and then we'll be hopefully be able to request that based on our budget to be able to do that. So more to come.
Very good, thank you. And then I just one last question. I think it's statewide, but it's like, how does compliance look? Because a lot of people that really need help and clearly have no interest. Is there anything changing statewide on that end? You said whatever it takes. That's kind of a very broad term, but what it takes sometimes is not pleasant. But
and I think part of what the state is really trying to push with the Behavioral Health Services Act is more of the outreach, as you heard Melissa talk about, a couple of field-based teams. So it's really trying to go where folks are to build rapport and to try to get them to come in for services. Of course, we can't force people to have services, but if we could try to build those relationships and build that trust where our community members that are at the highest need will actually be willing to start those services. I think that's the hope. I don't know if there's anything else.
Yeah, I know I follow the HEART team. They go around there, round them up, and they're, it's just kind of the same population over and over again. But I know, talk to some of those guys, it's kind of like, well, you might ask them 20 times, and maybe the 20th first time they decide maybe they really do want to, it becomes uncomfortable enough where they realize that maybe treatment's the better alternative. I think that's kind of where we're trying to get to, I think. That seems to be a lofty goal, if nothing else.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
The supervisors? Any public comment?
Melissa, are you so excited that this is almost over?
It's just beginning, and I'm very
100,000 hours on this?
It's been, I think, the better part of 2 years for our entire team to first, digest all of the new requirements, and then work with the Centers of Excellence and work with the community to finalize this plan. So, yes, I'm very excited. I'll be thrilled to click submit prior to June. I'm not going to wait to June 30th to click submit, but yes, I'm ecstatic.
Yeah, I was wondering how many hours it took. It's like substantial. Yeah, it's just a bunch of paper, but a lot of effort went into that paper.
All of these had to be presented to the public in various forms too, so it was a lot of time after, well, not after work, but after hours, and a lot of, I've seen you around a lot.
Yeah, no, I think it took us about a year, felt like, I think a year to put the plan together.
A lot of what you're seeing as far as the mental health, does it go back to like substance abuse? That probably probably the biggest factor.
I don't know if I would say biggest factor, but I think it is definitely plays a large role. I think we have folks that are have primary mental health issues, and those that have primary substance use, and then a lot that are co-occurring, and that's what's very helpful, I think, about the transition to BHSA, because in the Mental Health Services Act, the primary focus had to be all mental health. If somebody was co-occurring, you could help treat that substance use disorder, but somebody could not be primary substance use disorder. So with BHSA, you can. So now we will really be able to be like whole person care, so then we can address all of those issues, because substance use is a significant issue.
I think the substances are more likely to cause mental strife? Like they've changed? Do you think
Chemists have gotten better.
Well, a lot of folks are self-medicating with substances instead of.
Seems like the substances are a bit different than they were in the 70s.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. We got more coming, so that's good news.
Yeah, $6 million more.
Any Zoomers?
No, not at this time.
All right, we'll bring it back to the board. We need to approve the BS integrated plan by resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve and sign the resolution with the accompanying board supervisor certification.
Second?
All right, we had a motion by Supervisor Epperson, a second by Supervisor Brown to approve the integrated plan and sign the supporting documents. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Good work.
Thanks.
4D is Parks and Rec, fee waiver options for park use permit application fees and rental fees. Suggested action, delegate partial authority to GSA to waive the fees. Are we gonna ever get any of them that just pay the fee, or they?
That's the goal. Good morning, GSA Director Glenn Spitzer. Just put it in context, the last board meeting, we had a fee waiver request by Sons in Retirement, and at that meeting, I mentioned that I'd bring this back so we can refine the process a bit. And I really see two issues here, and one is that if we had more criteria, that would help the decision makers with the decision whether to waive and how much. And then the other is I saw the process as too burdensome because every request, no matter how small, comes to the board. And so on that first issue on the criteria, what we did is we amended the application to add a hardship component so the applicant can explain, financial hardship. The second issue is we gave them a space to be able to explain community benefit apart from the event itself. For example, Rotary Club, they build benches and tables and do all kinds of things for the county. They would have the opportunity to put that down there. And then the third issue is in-kind volunteer work. And so if somebody wants to do some weed whacking or mowing the lawn or trash pickup at the parks or the cemetery, place flags on Veterans Day and Memorial Day. And on the other issue about being too burdensome, what we would suggest is giving some discretion to GSA to make those decisions, either some or all, and some being a certain dollar amount per year. And we put on the option as an example of $500 per year. So ultimately our recommendation is to delegate some authority to GSA to make these decisions and then to expand the criteria so that we assist in the decision-making role, whether that be GSA or the board.
So both GSA and the board would know that every person asking for a reduced fee had to look at a list of volunteer activities they could have done, and then would know whether they've chosen to reject any volunteer activity while asking for a discount. That's correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So it's in the new 2-page application. There's examples of the tasks that are listed: weed eating, mowing, and/or trash pickup at Pioneer, Pine Grove, Molly Joyce, Lions, and Fiddletown Park, and then there are a few other examples there. And so they would have to intentionally leave that blank.
And probably sign a waiver, I guess, if they decided to work or whatever. That would be a thing, I suppose.
Yes, there's a waiver component, and yeah, we would put that in there.
And I like one request I would have would be that, maybe at least the first year that at least any approvals you make would just come before us like on consent. We just see them, at least what's there, just so we have an idea of what we're, give it up.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well,
For the milliner, it's just a little list and just.
a reporting after the fact, or?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just, would like to be updated on, at least for the first year, what that looks like, just so we're not giving away the farm.
I like that fee waiver request. I mean, how it's set up.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good.
great.
Yeah, they have to check a box saying they're not gonna volunteer.
Yes.
Yeah,
On the top, yeah.
It's on the second page.
First page also, will in-kind
Oh, yeah.
volunteer work be performed, and they have to check the no box.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it, you know, for nonprofits. As far as individuals, I'm not sure that could really get hairy.
And I completely agree. We had mentioned potentially expanding this to other than nonprofits, but
I think
my recommendation is to not do that. But
I think we leave that to your discretion, maybe. But there might be a time you might need to have that ability, but I think generally no.
yeah, the general policy would be no, except in extreme rare cases. That makes sense.
And I would suggest a timeline too for when the in-kind work is supposed to be done, just if it's, before or after, but so it does get done.
Yeah.
There's a someday box.
When I feel like it, boss.
Someday.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is, like, my quadriplegic friend has a fundraiser at the disc golf course. He can't apply for an exemption. Is that what we're saying? Because he's not a nonprofit.
No, I don't think so. I mean, that was something where, like, extenuating circumstances, you'd have discretion.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hate absolute blanket no's. Something comes up, you're going, hey, we should do that as a society, as a board.
Society, yeah.
And, we're saying you don't have that option. I'd like to give our general service director that option.
well, I think, Glenn, is we've woken up these people to what a deal they've been getting, or what our real costs are.
Yeah, I agree.
They don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah, things cost money.
Yeah.
I would agree with that, but I think also people do pay taxes too. That's kind of But people also want roads fixed too. So.
But all we're asking is they can use the park whenever they like. If they'd like it to be their own private park, then they pay. That's all we're asking, right? Anybody can go to the park whenever they want with no fees.
But if they want to reserve a specific, particularly facility.
What about if, I'm just throwing something out here, but what happens if somebody decides to do a pop-up event? No coordination, no nothing.
I think we have rules that if your event anticipates over 100 people, that you're precluded from doing it without a permit. But I can go back and double check that.
I appreciate it.
Sure.
Personally, I think I'd like to give the general services discretion. I think we've hired good people. They know where the board's at.
That's your motion?
That's my motion.
I'll second it.
Oh, any public comment
Oh,
first?
sorry.
Or- Seeing none, hearing, no Zoomers?
No, not at this
All right,
time.
so we had a motion by Supervisor Oneto to give complete discretion to the GSA?
Yeah.
Was that a second, Supervisor Brown? All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? You may be sorry.
There's always the right to appeal it.
Okay, we'll remember that.
Round.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right. 4E is review and possible approval of the June 9th, 2026 board minutes. Any corrections or obvious errors, or if not, I'd entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
A motion by Supervisor Brown, a second by Supervisor Carnell to adopt the minutes as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. With that, we'll take a 7-minute break until our 10:30 public hearing.
I love that. I have to actually say, I will not help. I'll get to it.
call this meeting back to order, and we are supposed to have a public hearing 10:30.
You got your microphone on?
There we go. Now it's on, yeah. Sorry. Here he is.
And, surveying department public hearing for an easement abandonment and merger, blah, 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 at Comanche. This is probably the 30th of one of these we've done. Good morning. We'll open the public hearing.
Morning.
Steve Zanetta, interim county surveyor. Another one of the mergers and easement abandonments down in the Comanche area.
They're pretty popular down there. They're pretty popular down there.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems for a while now. They're moving along, getting quite a number of them. There's been no issues, no comments back from anybody, so I think it's good to go.
Okay. Any public comment on this issue? Any Zoomers?
No, not at this time.
Move to close public hearing.
Second.
All right, we had a motion by Supervisor Brown and a second by Supervisor Carnell to close the public hearing. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Back to the board for an action on this item.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the resolutions.
Second.
Thank you, Supervisor Epperson, and a second by Supervisor Odetto to approve the easement abandonment and certificate of merger. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
All right, and before we adjourn, we have a distinguished guest here, a newcomer to our, I guess I missed you during the public comment, or somehow we missed introducing you, so the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. Good morning. My name's Mike Boyce. I'm the new assistant chief here for the Amador Eldorado unit for CAL FIRE, so I oversee all the CAL FIRE resources within Amador County and Pine Grove Camp. Been in this position for about 3 months now. Prior to that, I was a battalion chief for Pine Grove Camp, the battalion chief within South Lake Tahoe, Battalion 6 in that area in Alpine County. I was also a captain here at Pine Grove Camp for about 5 years prior to that, and then worked in the Sonoma Lake Napa unit. So it was my 22nd year with the department. Live here locally in Amador County in Ione, so I just want to take the opportunity to come in and introduce myself and make myself available. I have business cards for all of you if you'd like to reach out.
Please.
Plan on being in attendance to these meetings as much as possible, just an avenue for you or any information you're looking out for from us. And obviously a big supporter of the Fire Safe Council. Amanda's presentation was spot on. They've been a wonderful partner for us and a great resource for this county. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, well, welcome. Welcome back.
Yeah. I'd have you back and cut more trees, clean it up.
Amador County works. You can't, once it's got its hooks in you,
All right, with that,
you never get away.
this meeting is adjourned.